What is your archetype or your personality according to Chinese medicine? This is what we're going to talk about today, and I'm really excited because I love this subject and I think it's fascinating. We have 5 elements in Chinese medicine and we have 5 main archetypes or personality. How is this relevant in clinical practice? Well, often I will ask questions to patients and it might take me a couple of sessions to figure it out, but eventually I can see which dominant archetype or personality comes out and how to address what could come up in the physical body according to Chinese medicine. It also really helps to narrow down issues that can be affecting the patient as well. So it's great for diagnosis, and I think it's also really interesting to see those personality or archetypes emerge in clinical practice. Hi, I'm Clara, and if it's your first time here, I create Chinese medicine and acupuncture content for students and practitioners, making it easy to grasp and fun to learn. Let's rock it! In Chinese medicine, the 5 elements is such a useful theory in clinical practice. And if you haven't watched my video on the 5 element theory, go for it, watch it. It's one of my most popular. It's also one of my favorite theory in TCM perspective. Now, the 5 elements are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And those 5 elements in nature and in the body are really part of each other. They control each other, they generate each other, they are very much part of a wheel and each cog in the wheel. And if one of them is out of whack, it may affect the others. So this is a really good theory that I love to use in clinical practice. Now, today we're going to talk mostly about the archetype. Now, each of those elements corresponds to organs, system, meridian. The wood corresponds to liver and gallbladder. The fire corresponds to the heart, small intestine, but also pericardium and Sanjiao meridian specifically. The earth corresponds to spleen and stomach, metal, large intestine and lung, and water, kidney and bladder. So those are what we know at the base of the 5 elements. But today, let's talk about the personality, like the wood, liver personality, or the heart, fire personality, or the spleen personality of earth, or metal, the lung personality, or water, the kidney personality. We're going to look at the yin organ system mostly. So let's start it up with the wood. It's one of my favorite one. I think I'm a bit biased because I'm wood as well as earth. Those are my 2 main personality. When I was younger, I was earth with a little bit of wood. Now in my late 50s, I am much more wood, and earth is my second one. So this is fascinating to watch because personalities can change and adapt over time. They might not stay the same. There's some trait that will stay the same, but they might really change. Does that make sense? So in general, when we look at the personalities, some of us, like I said earlier, can have 2 main dominant one. Like I said, mine is wood and earth, or liver and spleen are my main one. And we're going to talk about what does that mean. But for some of us, it may be 3 or 4. And I've had students that really resonate with all 5 of them. This is a really balanced personality, which has a little bit of everything, which is fantastic. The wood element in the 5 element theory is related to the liver and the gallbladder. It also corresponds to the eyes, the tendons, joints, ligament, the season of spring, the color green, and all those are going to give us clues of what's going on in the patients and their imbalance. But today, let's talk about the personality. So the wood or liver personality, and it's a liver personality type or archetype, is type A. It's the person with the vision, the goals, the planning, the person that plans everything in advance, has goals, has vision, and will go and achieve them. So if you're, let's say, an accountant, you are very, very organized. This is a really good job for the liver personality. You know, when I made this video, I wrote it down. I write what I want to do in advance, when I'm going to film it, everything else. So I like to plan, and it helps me being more accountable to myself. So there's everything with each personality or archetype is going to have the yin and the yang side. So the good side is being a planner, being organized, being on time, being someone that has goals and vision and is an achiever is a great part of a personality, as you can see, right? This is great. However, on the other side of the coin for this personality, there's also difficulties. And the problem is type A wants to be in control. And if it's not their way, it's the highway. So in general, they like to be in control. They like to do things their own way. So it's really hard for them to work well in a team environment where everybody contributes because they want to be the leader. They want to be the person in charge. So that makes it a little bit tougher for them. Also, they get really frustrated, really irritable when it doesn't go their way, right? Or because they're an achiever, they also are a perfectionist, an overachiever. So often this really stresses them out when they don't do well, when they're not achieving what they want to achieve, or when they put pressure to themselves. So when I see patients that are the wood or liver archetype, I can ask questions to them saying, are you a perfectionist? Are you someone that likes to be in control? And when I see this, I'm like, okay, so you're more of a liver type. So because they're more of a liver type, they have tendency to put pressure on themselves, to stress very much. And so it's really good because in practice, I can start using points to calm that stress, to relax them, right? Like liver 3 obviously would be one choice. Gallbladder 34 would be another choice to really calm that, because I'm not going to be able to change their personality, of course, but we want to calm the stress that comes with the personality as well, if that makes sense. The second archetype is the fire or the heart archetype. This is the fire element. So it's on fire. The fire in the 5-element theory corresponds to the heart and the small intestine. It corresponds to the summer season. It's the most young part of the whole 5-element or time. So noon, for example, this is where it corresponds to. It's also opening into the tongue. It reflects into the face, and it has tendency to be corresponding to blood vessels and the color red. My husband is definitely the heart fire archetype. This is the personality that is very happy, very joyful. It's like the clown of the party, the person that wants to have fun, you know, loves to dance, loves to make people laugh. That's my husband. I love him for it. They are the life of the party. They are passionate. They're excited about everything and anything. Can you feel the excitement? This is the personality. Very much an excited personality. And they get to see the shiny object, you know, where they go, oh, this is so awesome. This is great. This is great. When we go on holiday with my husband, you know, I'll say, oh, I want to go to Costa Rica. And he'll say, I don't want to go there. But then I kind of push him and I push him and I push him to get him out of his comfort zone. And then we get to Costa Rica and he loves everything. Like everywhere, the food, the places, the people. He's like, this is awesome. This is awesome. He's always excited and happy. So very passionate, very happy, excited, loves people. Loves to be around people, loves to be around crowds, very much more an extroverted kind of personality because it's fire. So that archetype is a great person to have around because they're very good team player. They love to play sports that are team sports like volleyball or soccer or football. So they work really well in a team environment. However, there's always that other side. And the problem with the fire or heart personality is they have tendency to be having issue with completing project, with finishing something they start because they get really excited. They can't finish up the work or complete what they want to do because then it's boring. It's not exciting anymore. The journey towards the goal is not fun. The excitement of the goal is fun, but the journey is not. So it's very hard for them to complete a task. They get very distracted very easily because there's shiny objects everywhere. And the other thing too is they love to be around people. So they don't do well if they're by themselves, which means that, you know, if they are, you know, let's say traveling for work or going somewhere else and they don't have friends, they don't know anybody, they feel really down. they feel tired. It gets their energy to drop. Their energy will drop when they're by themselves. The energy will rise when they feed from all the other people they surround themselves with. And on the opposite side, if they're by themselves, they start to be depressed. So they really need other people. So if you understand that, you can ask questions to patients and say, oh, are you more an extrovert, introvert? Doesn't mean that they're fired right away, but ask more questions and say, do you have difficulty in focusing if you're not excited about something? Do you get excited really easily? And then it's hard when it's time to grind and to do the work, right? Ask the question. And what we want to do with those patients is we want to try to keep that excitement and happiness and passion, but we want to calm them down enough so they can sleep, because those people have tendency to be so excited that it's hard for them to sleep. So heart 7 is a great point for that. And also to help them focus. So stomach 40 is one of the best points to clear the mind and focus as well. So see how you can utilize this in clinical practice? I think it's fantastic. This is why it's really important to ask the right questions so you can help the patient really hone down into their health, but also into their daily life. TCM rocks! I've said it and I'll say it again. The Earth personality type in Chinese medicine is the nurturer. The nurturer because it's all about related to digestion, food, Mother Earth. So it's the nurturing personality or the caring personality.
The earth element, according to Chinese medicine, corresponds to the spleen and stomach and opens into the mouth. This is where digestion begins. It's also in charge of transition in life or between seasons. It is connected to the dampness, color yellow, and the muscular regions in the body.
It's also the sensitive personality. So I am wood and earth, or liver and spleen kind of personality. And growing up, I was much more sensitive. I would cry very easily because I would be affected by everybody's emotion. I have learned to do this much better, but I'm still very sensitive and I still get affected. So I have to protect myself. So my second personality type is earth. A lot of our profession in the medical field are those earth type. They want to take care of everybody. They want to really nurture everyone. They're very sensitive. So we love those people, and they do really well in the medical profession as a nurse, as any kind of practitioner. They do very well in profession where you have to care, maybe a vet or someone working with animals. So those people do really well in helping others. And then that's the positive part. The negative part, or the other side of the coin when it comes to earth personality, is because they are so sensitive, they are going to be affected, like I said earlier for myself, by a lot of news, for example. It's very hard for those people if they watch the news because they will be affected by it. They might worry, they might get anxious. It might be a story that really affected them and made them cry. So they're very sensitive, and it could take a lot of their energy, specifically if people take advantage of their caring, loving nature. Because what happens is they give, they take care of everybody else, but they forget to take care of themselves. And that is the problem with the earth personality, is they do not take the time for self-care, which means in the end they get exhausted. They're always tired because they never take the time for themselves. They always take care of everybody else. So when I see this in clinical practice, I will ask patients, how's your energy? And they might say, oh, I'm exhausted. Now I need to dig a little bit deeper. Do you take time for self-care? I don't do anything. I don't exercise. I don't meditate. I don't journal. I don't go for walks. I don't see friends. I'm basically working, taking care of my family, doing everything, and exhausted. Now that's a problem. And so what we want to do for those people is we really want to raise their energy. So spleen 6, Ren 6, do 20 is great to raise that energy. However, for the person that's so giving, spleen 5 is really good to calm that worry about the inability to say no, right? People that are that personality cannot say no. They have tendency to think if I say no, they'll feel guilty, they'll feel bad, right? So spleen 5 is a really good point to stop the worrying and overthinking when we feel guilt. This is a great point to add to those patients. Isn't it amazing? I love Chinese medicine. The metal personality in Chinese medicine. This is a blue quartz. I love rocks. I gotta show you. I got so many of them. I got amethyst. I've got so many in here. I could do like a whole thing on minerals. I love minerals. So when we talk about the metal element in Chinese medicine or in the 5-element theory, I like to say mineral, because often we think metal is just like that piece of lead or something, but really I think it was a mistranslation, and it should say mineral, because it's calcium, it's quartz, it's magnesium, it's all the minerals. And in the 5-element theory, I like to call it minerals. However, for the purpose of Chinese medicine translation that is common everywhere, we will call this the metal archetype or the metal personality. So the metal element in Chinese medicine corresponds to the long and large intestine. It opens into the nose. It reflects into the skin when there's skin issues. It is corresponding to the fall season, the color white, right? The metal archetype or personality in Chinese medicine is going to be like the immune system. When the long and large intestines are in charge of the immune system, which is our defense system, our shield, so we stay protected. Well, the metal personality in TCM is trustworthy, is loyal, is dependable, and will help you anytime. If you need to move, you ask them, they will come and help you out. They are very dependable, they're always on time. However, what's interesting about their personality is that, as I said, they have a shield. So remember we talked about the earth personality, which is very caring, very nurturing, and giving. The metal is not giving, but it will be there, dependable, and it will be trustworthy. However, when you look at the earth personality, they're very sensitive, right? The metal personality is very standoffish. They're not a hugger. They are not going to be sensitive. They do not cry when they see something sad or a commercial, because they are self-preservation. They are self-preserving their emotions and not to get hurt emotionally. So what's interesting about them is that it's very hard for them to get close to someone. So even if they're in a relationship, it's very hard for them to get close, to really share who they are at the core, because they are guarded. And often they're very lonely because of that, because they cannot let people in. And that makes it hard, because sometimes they get into depression because they can't let people in. And the reason is they don't want to be hurt. I have a patient like this. She's so metal. She does have asthma, she does have eczema, so she has skin and lung issue, which is fascinating to me. And she does not say anything, like no emotion comes out. She's not emotional. So I can ask those people, are you someone that likes to talk about feelings? And they'll look at me like, no, that's not my thing at all, right? So ask the right question. And what we want to do for those people is we want to open their heart so they can let anybody in. And yes, they might get hurt, but they also might get really, really good outcome, right? So opening the chest with Ren 17, which is really good point to open your heart, your chest, but also for the lungs, for breathing ability, is a really good point to do for the metal personality. The water or kidney personality. Yes, this is my water. It's got fulvic and humic acid into it, which is kind of comes from the lava rock. So it comes from the metal. But I love it. I love how it tastes and how it made me feel good. It's really good to strengthen the immune system, and you can look it up. Anyway, the water personality, see now it's dark water, right? Because in Chinese medicine, the water element corresponds to the color black. And in general, it's corresponding to the kidney, the bladder, the bones. So the structure, our teeth, our bones, but also to the season of winter. And it is corresponding also to the ears. But when we look at the personality type, we talked about the fire earlier. Fire and water are yin and yang opposite, right? So in personality-wise, there's a lot of opposition. The water personality is much more introverted. They are different from the fire personality, which is extroverted. They love to be alone. They enjoy being alone, and this is how they recharge their energy. They are actually drained if they're staying around a lot of people too long. So they're the opposite of the fire, right? They like to be alone and they like to recharge their energy. The water personality is the creative, the one that loves to create. It could be painting, writing, drawing. It could be social media content creation, whatever creation comes up, they're the creator. They love to self-reflect. So they could be painting for hours and reflect. This is their way of meditating. And lots of self-reflection, self-awareness as well. They love their family as well. They're very family oriented, but at the same time, they can't be with their family all the time. They need that downtime to recover. So those are great for artists, for people that work by themselves, that like to create. This is a great job for the water personality type. However, they do get really tired around other people. They do get drained or really emotionally fatigued if they do not get to create. If they're so busy and stressed with life that they don't get their creative time, it will take their energy down. So for those people, we want to protect their kidneys, and with kidney 3, kidney 6, and we want to allow them to get energy even from other people, and that's spleen 6. Spleen 6 is the crossing of 3 meridians, so it is other people, right? The liver type, the earth type, and then the water type. So those 3 points are really good. I will ask patients often, depending what they do you like working from home? Do you like working alone? I love it. This is my favorite thing to do. And then, I'll ask more question about creativity, and if they love to be on their own, if they need that alone time really much. And that's how we get to ask the right questions. Does that make sense? I love the 5-element theory. It's one of my favorite. And if you haven't watched this video, it's one of my most popular one. Check it out now. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any new video, and share this video if you think it could help someone or be of value of someone you know. There's so much more on my website, AcuProAcademy.com. No matter what you're doing, have a great day and keep rocking it using TCM.